Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
My name is Sarah Gergel, and I work with the Living Archives Project, which is a project where we are collecting stories of how the pandemic impacted various communities in Mecklenburg County. Today is April 5th, 2023, and this week there were 63 reported cases of COVID 19 in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, which actually shows a 1% decrease over the last 2 weeks. Therefore, each subject is comfortable not wearing a mask today. Lon, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Lon and I am 39 years old. Sometimes I get my age confused. I am Asian American Vietnamese. Um, I came to the US when I was 9. So I've been in Charlotte, North Carolina for my whole life, really. And currently I have uh, 3 children, two boys and 1 girl, and I am married. Not happily married every day, but on most of the day I'm okay. And currently, I used to be a pharmacist, but when COVID happened and all the craziness, I stepped down from that job and I decided to help my dad with a restaurant. So I'm trying out the entrepreneur's life right now. And Sarah did ask me to do a little description of myself. If you met me a few, like maybe 5, 6 years ago, I would have this long black hair. But somehow, because of COVID too, I decided to cut my hair to lighten up the load. So I cut my hair and I don't know, yeah. Cutting my hair was actually one of the big moves in my life because I've had it for like 20 something years, that long hair.
Wow.
Yeah, and then let's see what else. I have kind of like a tan skin tone. In the Vietnamese, if you ever go back to Vietnam or Asian culture, this is frowned upon. They don't want you to be tan. They want you to be super light. They will pay extra money so they can get the skin lightened.
Wow.
Yeah, so white folks would be very loved when you go to Vietnam. They're like, wow, we would love your skin.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because for someone with tan skin like this, it would be considered as like the lower class. Like you work in the field, you work on the street. That's why you're exposed to the sun. That's why your skin is dark. Versus if you're light skin and you're, like really nice white skin, that's mean you're an upper class. You're always in the house with AC. You never have to be outside. So
Interesting.
yeah, and it just more ladylike. Even men, whether they know it or not, unconsciously they chose or they prefer like light skinned women
Yeah.
with long black hair. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, you have beautiful hair.
Yeah, thank
Really
you.
lovely. Yes. So, Lon, tell me, were you born in Vietnam?
Yes, I was
Okay.
born there. I was there until I was 8, and then
Okay.
we got sponsored to come to the U.S. But in order to come to the U.S., we have to do they call it I don't know, a layover, but a 6 month layover in
Wow.
Philippines.
Wow.
They have like refugees camp there that we have to go there,
Okay.
and that's where they teach us the American way of life. Like they let you go to, like it was it's a really weird time, but I put it on here too. It's actually one of the life changing moment for me, like being in
Yeah.
Philippines. It was sort of my happiest moment of my childhood, even though my parents would say otherwise. They're like,
Yeah.
that was our roughest time of our life. But I was like, no, all I had was just like the best memory, the best of the best memory.
Wow.
We would go there and then we would go to school. The parent would have school, the kid would have school. We would learn English and we would learn how American people live. And then I remember like twice a week there'll be this big truck. This refugee camp, camp is sponsored and is sponsored by the Americans, by the U.S. So every week, 2-3 times a week, they would have a big truck. They would come and they would have all kind of food on there, and then they'll distribute food, like they ration food to each family. Each family you get however much food depend on how many people in your house.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we would live in this long building. Like the building would have like like rooms. Each family have 1 or 2 rooms,
Okay.
depending on how big your family is or your house. It's almost like a townhome, like right next to
Okay.
each other. Yeah. So and then
wow.
and then twice a week, you would get that big truck come bring you all these food. Like the American folks like fed us really well, like really good food.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, I was like, and then we would go to school and we would have like Filipino teacher, but at that time they all speak English, so we learned English from them. And then there were a lot of Vietnamese people there, like there's like different, they call it region, I think. There's like 9, 10 different regions. They've been there for a long time. So by the time I came, it was like toward the end.
Okay.
So they've closed down a lot of the regions, so there are not as many Vietnamese people.
Okay.
But the people who were there before, because they've been there for so long, because not everyone's come there get to go to another, like a developed country. Some of them get stuck there, or some of them get sent back to Vietnam or wherever they came from. So
interesting.
Yeah, so a lot of them, they actually end up settling there, like since
in Vietnam, in Philippines.
Yeah, they call it like when that happened, it's like no country want you, so you can't go anywhere, and then they rather live in Philippines than go back to Vietnam, because at that time Vietnam, well, it's a while back, but Vietnam after 1975, it became a communist country. It's really hard to live, so people rather live somewhere else rather than in Vietnam. So a lot of them would choose to live there and have a family there. So when I came, there's a lot of people were there before us. So they've actually built up churches, temples. They even have Vietnamese classes, like school. They even had a Vietnamese school so that all young kids like us, during the day we go learn English, but at the night we go learn Vietnamese so that we don't forget our root. Yeah, and these are the private program and things that normal people just put it together without the funding of the government, because they feel like they need to build a community, even if it's just a temporary community. And then one of the most memorable thing I remember there was an earthquake when I was there, so we were like inside a house and all of a sudden everything moved. That was scary. But one of the most memorable thing I remember when in Philippines is every time a family, if they're lucky enough and they get sponsored, they go to like Canada. The top country are like Canada, the US, Australia, or somewhere in Europe. Those are the countries that you want to go to. You aim for. So whenever someone get to go, or like they've been approved, like the night before, they would have elaborate party. Would have like drinks for everyone. Like they'll spend every penny they have left. That night, that's when you come over and they'll give you everything they have. Like here's a pair of slipper, a pair of sandal that is, is still new. Take it, take my clothes. Like basically you leave a lot of stuff behind because you don't want to carry all those. A lot of them are like old stuff. So we leave that behind. You kind of like, let the next people inherit those things. Like, here's my blanket, here's my pillow. You give all away. So, and then the next morning they have this bus that would take you to the airport. And I don't know, that's everyone's dream, to be able to get on that bus. And move to they call it the Manila airport. Yeah, that's where you go and then you fly out.
So you were 8 years old when you were there.
I think I was 8, because by the time I get to the US, we spent exactly 6 months there. Some family, if you're lucky, you spend 6 months there. That's a minimum. And then if you're not lucky, like I said, some people, they've been there for like 10, 15 years and they couldn't go.
And your family got selected to come to the US? Yeah,
it's kind of like there's a process. There's a process that you have to go through. I don't remember. I don't know how it's selected. But.
And did you guys come straight to North Carolina? Oh, so you've been raised in North Carolina.
Yeah, we came straight I remember that day at night. We came to the airport, and I've never seen so many at the airport like whenever I think of the America, if people ask me what America is, I think America have a lot of lights. We got to the airport and there's so many lights, and then we drove and we saw many gas stations. They have many white bright lights. And I remember when we got here, they put us in an apartment, and we had a refrigerator, and then we opened that refrigerator. I was like, wow, I've never seen this much food. It's like they have so many fruit, and then they have this big bottle of Coke. I don't know if I've ever I guess I drink Coke, but not in that big 1 liter or 2 liter bottle. I looked at it and I told my mom, oh mom, look, it's a big bottle of soy sauce.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
It was like...
That's
Yeah,
the
that was
best.
my memory of the U.S.
Yeah. So you've been in North Carolina for all your life. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So Lon, tell me, before we started this interview, we did this activity together called a hand map. Is there anything from your hand map that you would like to share?
Let's see. Happy. Like happiness. I feel like in the last few years, I think ever since COVID happened actually, something triggered in me that I feel like I need. It's not wealth and all that stuff that I'm looking for in my life right now. At this time of my life, I'm looking for happiness. I just want to live a happy life. And if you ever know like Asian folks, okay? For Asian folks, like they always tell their kids, you can be anything in your life.
Yeah.
Anything you want, as long as it's a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. Any of thing in those three.
Yeah.
So a lot of us ended up going into those fields. But then now that after I feel like I've lived my parents' life, became a pharmacist and all that stuff, and then I realized I was like, I want to be happy. But I went on YouTube and Google and look up like how to be happy, like what make a person happy.
Yeah.
And I just realized that I don't think in my whole life anyone ever have taught me what happiness is.
Yeah.
Like how to find it or how to create your own happiness.
Yeah.
I don't think your parents taught you. Maybe they don't know.
Yeah.
But society never taught you. School never taught you. Like no one ever brought up like, rarely people say happiness should be part of your life. At least in our culture, it's just like when you look at a job, my parents only think of how much you make and what's the title, what's the job title. Those are the only two important things. But as I get older, maybe this is the generation that we're in, I want to tell my parents, I don't know if they understand it, but it's like my life is more than just my job, what I make in my title. I want to have free time. I want to have time with my kid.
Yes.
I want to wake up and feel happy. Like, where do people get those happiness from? It's almost like that's. I feel like I'm going through a phase of looking for that. So when I asked one of the things that describe about me, I wrote happy. I feel like I'm on a journey to find happiness. Yeah. So
I love that.
And I want to raise happy children. I want to raise. I don't know if they'll be successful, but I want to raise kind and happy kids. I want them just to be happy.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I wake up every morning, you feel happy. Like life is so great.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was watching a video at like 2 a.m. It was like it said, if I were to, this guy asked a group of people, if I were to give you $1 million, would you be happy? It's like, yes, oh my God, I'll be ecstatic. I'll be super happy. And then he said, how about if I increase up to $10 million, what would you say? I was like, I would like do anything you ask me to do. I mean, I would like be the happiest person ever. But that guy was like, what if I give you $10 million, but you will not wake up tomorrow? You won't be able to wake up tomorrow anymore. $10 million, would you take it? And everyone was like, no, why would I take that? And then he was like, you see, it's not about the money. So you're telling me that you rather wake up tomorrow than take that $10 million. And everyone's like, yeah. I mean, we've never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
But being able to wake up in the morning, that worth more than $10 million.
Yes.
Yeah, that is worth more than $10 billion.
Yes.
To be able to wake up in the morning. But a lot of us, we wake up in the morning, we feel so tired. We're like dreading it. We're like, oh, I hate Monday. Oh, I hate Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah.
When is Friday? Why is Friday not here yet?
Yeah.
But we fail to realize that we have just exchanged $10 million to be able to wake up today. So I woke up with my $10 million self today.
No, I love that. That's such a beautiful perspective. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that was my video at 2 a.m.
Wow. So Lon, tell me, a few years ago when COVID first kind of came to North Carolina and the lockdown happened and all these restrictions, you were a pharmacist at the time.
Yeah.
Is that correct? And so tell me about your experience.
So if anyone ever tell you pharmacy is easy and just standing there and counting pills, they are wrong. But every job have their ups and downs. But I've been in pharmacy for almost 13, 14 years. So it's really stressful. Like every job have their stress. And even before COVID happened, I was in retail, so corporate always want us to do so much already, like so much more work to do, but less help, like they're trying to cut costs. So when COVID happened, we have even less help. And then we're like, on top of that, we have to do COVID shot, COVID like testing and all that stuff, like so much work. And on top of that, we are checking people medication. We're making sure the doctor write the right thing.
Yeah.
And then we're making sure that we put the right medication in the bottle. It may sound simple, but imagine if you're doing like 1,000 prescription, 800 or 1,000 prescription a day. Like there ought to be some mistake. I mean, there's statistics saying that it's like, I forgot what the statistic is, what maybe like, let's say 2%. That's mean every 1,000 prescription I check, it has to be like, what, 220, is it 20 or 200 prescription, 20, yeah, probably 20 prescription that it ought to be wrong. Whether it's big or small, it have to be some sort of error in it. It's just impossible for it to be perfect, right? So that's the stress that we dealt with before COVID. And we have to do all these shot and, immunization. Basically, they want it to be a one-stop for everyone. But they put all that pressure on us as a pharmacist. And then the crazy thing is, at that time, it's just so crazy. If you do well, you get punished by getting more work. It's like you meet the goal this year. Let's say you do 1,000 flu shot this year. Your goal next year is going to be 2,000 flu shot or something like that. It's like almost like if you meet your goal, be prepared that they're going to tackle on some more work. So it was like, so during COVID, I mean, I really remember how nurses and doctors were so burnt out. I mean, but honestly, they didn't even talk about how pharmacists burn out. We're on that bus too, we're like so burnt out. And the crazy thing is when COVID happened, I was actually pregnant with my third child. And then when I was pregnant, when COVID happened, they weren't even sure if pregnancy was a high risk factor for COVID or not. And then imagine every day I went to work and I'm exposing to customer. And we don't know if they have COVID or not. So I was like, am I putting my child at risk? And I think all those like stress at work and all those, and then the tiredness of being pregnant and having a child coming, and then also we don't know if how that COVID affect that child. It was just so stressful for me that my blood pressure shoot up really high. It's almost like preeclampsia kind of thing. So eventually the doctor was like, we have to send you to the hospital to get induced. I went to an office visit that day and they're like, you have to go to get induced today because your blood pressure is too high. So I remember, I think on the day that we went straight to the hospital, that's the day that they shut down the state. So my husband went with me, and that's when, everyone, honestly, I've realized that when things happen, no one knows what they're doing, especially big corporation or big hospital and stuff. The information, it takes so long to get down to the lower level. So when we get to the hospital, they're like, well, we don't know if your husband can come in or not. We are trying to restrict visitors and stuff. So at that time, I was like, so what happened? Can he come with me or no? We're like battling on that. And eventually they let him stay with me.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, but it was just such a really stressful time for not just because of the it's like the workload. The workload was so stressful. I remember I told my boss, like, because I work at one of the most busy store in Charlotte. Like we're right across from the CMC or North Tryon, so we always like bombarded with ER patient, like really busy. And I remember I told my boss, I was like, I usually I can handle stress really well. But I just know that in the past few years or past few months since COVID happened, sometimes we would have a line going, all the time, a line going down, all the way down aisle 9, either waiting to get a prescription or waiting to get a COVID shot. And all the while, only one pharmacist working. And we have to juggle all of that. And then their technician too. But I told my manager, I was like when I come to work, I just know I look like this duck that's sitting in the pot. That I look so calm and collective, but deep at the bottom, I was kicking vigorously to stay afloat. And I told her, I was like, I can tell that I'm having like stress-induced ulcer in me right now. I feel like my cell, like you can just tell you're like so stressed. Even though you look at me, you wouldn't know that I'm stressed, but I was so stressed. And I always thought myself as someone that can handle stress really well, because I worked at that store for like 10, 13 years, you know. I've seen all kind of things. And then when that happened and I gave birth to my child, And then when that COVID happened, so no visitor, my family could, like for an Asian family, these are like time of celebration. We would always come over and be in each other's face and, like all that stuff. But then when that happened, no one could come to visit the baby. And my sister did come with her kid to visit the baby, but we have a hill in the back of the house. She would climb on that hill and we keep really far distant. I would open the back door and I stand there and I stood there and she would scream at me. It's like, how's the baby? We're like, we are good. Yeah, it was like really crazy. Yeah. And I think that's when we experienced our very first Thanksgiving and Christmas by ourselves.
Wow.
Like, by ourselves without just our kid and no immediate family. Because we're like extended family.
Yeah.
We're like, the Asian culture is very family oriented.
Yes.
Every holiday you
Yes.
gather up like 20, 30, 50 people,
Yeah.
So it's always like that. But COVID forced us to slow down. But then again, I kind of enjoy that too. I said we never really have a chance to do a small, intimate family celebration of those holidays. So there's up and down.
Up and down.
And then because of so after that, and then COVID continued. It didn't just end after they lived. So my next struggle was after I got a baby out. My next struggle was like childcare and homeschooling and my kids. Like I have concluded that there is a unwritten law somewhere. It's unwritten that if anything happened to the kid, school or whatever, it's always the woman's job. Like the woman have to take one for the team.
Yeah.
The woman has to step down from her job, step down from her career, and stay home and take care of the kid. I mean, a lot of the time is they do it out of love.
Yeah.
But a lot of the other time it could be just, like I said, it's an unwritten universal rule that when things happen, you just step back and you just, you know your role kind of thing. So when the school keep on, closing and then it's so unpredictable and then we have to homeschool the kid and that's when it got super stressful, like school, like work and then homeschooling the kid. It get to the point where I was like, guys, I don't care. We can just be stupid for 2 years. We don't need to learn anything. I don't care. Like, it was so stressful. And then, my worst, I think the last straw for me was with my son. Like, he went to the daycare. There will be a day that I took him to the daycare and then they told me someone in his class, it's not even him, someone in his class have been in contact with someone with COVID or something, or they have COVID. So he have to be quarantined for 10 to 14 days. And basically, like, you have to go home. You pick him up and you go home right now. I don't know what you do with the next 10, 14 days. After that, you can come back. But as a pharmacist, I don't understand. I don't know if people know how pharmacy works. Like, if you work in a regular office job, if you don't show up for work, then you're like, okay, well, I guess someone else can do your job or you can do at home.
Yeah.
You'll be okay. In the pharmacy, if I don't show up for work and they don't have a backup for me, they can't find anyone, then they have to shut down the pharmacy. We cannot sell prescription without a pharmacist there, like checking it. So, I mean, I can call out one day here, a day here, but I cannot do 10 days, 14 days straight, you know? I was like, even if they don't fire me, I feel so sad for my staff, you know? Like, and especially if they put pharmacists who have never worked in my store, it was just such a big mess. Like, everyone struggled. Like, customers struggled, the technicians struggled, like, everyone struggled.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just feel really bad, And then I remember one night I was driving. Some night I drove home and just cry in my car. You know how people sing in their car, you just cry in your car. I just cry. You're like, oh my God, what is this life that I'm living, And it's crazy, but at that point in time, my biggest stress was childcare. That was like always on my mind. And there's one time that I cannot call out that day because they told me I have no one to cover you. You just have to come to work. And not in a threatening way, but I just know I have to,
Yeah.
And then that night, what I did was I packed up all my kids. I took them to my sister's house. We slept over there. We spent the night there. And in the morning, I left them there so that she can help take care of my kid along with her 3 kids. And then I went to work. And then when I went, I think that was the day I thought, I was like, I cannot live like this. This is too stressful for me. And then somehow 2 weeks later, I was reading an article about this is like the time of I don't know what was the article, it was about the time of resignation or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh man, a lot of people quit their job.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, after the article, my sister called me and she's like, I'm really stressed with the restaurant right now. I can't work with daddy. So you either, I don't know, if you want a restaurant, maybe you can step in and help him, or I'm gonna just shut it, like close it down altogether. And at that time, it was almost like someone give me a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
You know, I was so stressed with my job, and I figure and I was like, at that time, it's not even about the money anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not saying money is not important; it's still important. But now my biggest problem is childcare, and it sounds silly, but at that time, I said I just need a job where if I have no one to work, or if I have to go to work, I can bring my kid to work.
Yeah.
I just need a job where I can bring my kid to work.
Yeah.
And the restaurant, I was like, yeah, I'll bring my kid to work and I'll just let them hang out in the back, you know, in the back room or something.
Yeah.
So that was my decision to step down for my 13 years career.
Wow.
Just so I can bring my kid to work.
Wow.
Yeah, it sounds crazy. And then, of course, my parent was not happy with my decision. But I told them, I'm a very outspoken child. Like, I am the kind of kid that parents don't love too much. I was like, Mom, like you don't know what I'm going through my life right now. Right now, the most important thing in my life is my kid, like daycare, childcare for them. And this is one, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years from now, I don't know where this route will take me.
Yeah.
But right now, it's a bandage that I need on my wound. Like I just need this right now.
Yes.
So, and I took it and I ran with it.
And how are you doing now?
And I am just so happy now.
Yes.
The other day, I remember I wrote a post on my Instagram. I was like, you know, dream do come true, guy, because that's the day that we're so short on staff. And I took a picture of my kid. I was like, I brought my kid to work today. I was like, that is I often tell everyone, I was like, all your dream that you ever dreamt of is often will come true. Everything that you ever ask the universe, it will come true. It's just a matter of timing. It may happen in the weirdest time, in the weirdest condition, in the weirdest place, but it will happen. So be really careful for what you wish for. So and a lot of time we were so sometimes we wish for this and then we move on to something else, and when it does happen we're like, oh, why is this happening to me? But if you really sit there and reflect, you're like, oh, I did ask for this a few years ago, but it's been so long I forgot about it. You know, it didn't come right away. So when we had no staff that day, I brought my kid to work, and I brought them blanket, pillow. I mean, if you come to a restaurant, you'll see like they're building fort and stuff, and I was like, this worked for me. Yeah. This is my survival mode in this time, this point in my life. Yeah. This worked for me. And it was such a happy day for me. No. And I wrote, my dream came true today. Thank you, the universe, for listening.
I love
a little bit late in delivery, but you know, it's here.
Yes. Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah. So, but now I feel really happy on most day. I genuinely can say that now versus before. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like I had to put up a front, you know, like to be happy, but just for the camera or just for social media, I wasn't truly happy. So now I feel like the one thing that I feel I have right now, I feel like this generation, we are looking for not the freedom of financial, not really. I mean, people talk about that right now, but the ultimate freedom is the freedom of time. The freedom of time.
Come on.
The freedom of you work because you want to, not because you have to.
Yes.
I feel like that's the ultimate goal in life, really.
Yes.
Sometimes people get confused. Maybe they haven't dig deep enough, so they think that they need a lot of money and stuff. Yeah. But there are rich people who have to work like 19, like Elon Musk. He worked like so many days, like hours in a day. He barely sleep. I don't want to be that kind of wealthy, you know. I want to be able. There's one time one of my friends called me, and that's when the day that it made me feel like I made the right decision. I was like curling my hair, and then she called me. It's like, oh, are you working today? And I was like, I don't know yet. I don't know if I feel like working today yet. And that's the day I feel so happy. I was like, I work because I want to, not because I have to. You know, like that is the ultimate flex, like in this generation that we live in.
I love that.
And I think that was the moment for me. I was so happy. Well, not every day is like that. Okay, don't take me wrong.
I know.
Yeah, not every day is like that, but when one of those days happen, I embrace it.
Yes.
I soak it all in, and
That's
I
the
was
key.
like, today's the best day of my life. Yeah.
Yes. That
So.
makes me so happy. So coming into this new transition of being an entrepreneur, and then your kids going back to school, how has their transition been?
Yeah, they're happy. They
They're
like to
good?
be around friends. I mean, I was just listening to the Simon Sinek. I don't know if you ever heard of Simon Sinek. He's a motivational speaker. He
Okay.
wrote a few books, Start With Why and stuff. It's one of the really good books. And then he was just talking about this new generation, this time that we're living in. Like a lot of us are dying of actually the death, the suicidal rate is higher than like car accident and stuff. That's because we're so secluded from everyone. Like we are not interacting like we used to anymore.
Yes.
Right? And then so when the kid, you can tell like during COVID time, like the kids are depressed.
Yes.
Like it's so sad. In my pharmacy career, my whole 13 years career, the saddest prescription I've ever filled was for a 7-year-old kid. It said it was a depression or some sort of anxiety medication. It said, take one tablet as needed when you feel sad or down. And this is like a 7-year-old. Oh my God. I think I cry when I feel that prescription because I had a 7-year-old at that time, you know? And then I was like, what does this child have to go through to feel at the age of 7? To feel sad and down that they have to be on medication.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was my saddest moment of my pharmacy career.
Oh
yeah, and then it made me think of my kid, you know? Yeah. I was like, I just, you know, yeah, 7-year-old should be like the best time of your life. You just want to go out and then play your bike or, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was
that's hard.
Yeah, I feel
that's heavy.
Yeah, I feel that's one prescription I'll never forget. I don't know why.
Yeah. I mean, I know why. Because you care.
Yeah, it's just...
Because you care.
And also because you have a child at that age.
And you can connect.
Yeah, you connect. Yeah, so...
Yes, and you think about your child.
Yeah.
And you ask yourself, is my child happy?
Yeah, I know. Oh my God, that's the day that I came home to him and I asked him, do you have friends at school?
Yeah.
Do you feel sad in any way? What makes you happy? Why don't we do more of that? You know, like that's the day you really came home and you have a conversation. Like the other day they were talking about bullying and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I went to my kids' school.
Yeah.
And then I was sitting there having lunch with my daughter, and then a few tables away, there's one kid, he sat by himself. Everyone else have like group or clique that they sat in, and then I waved at him and he waved back. He keep on thinking that I didn't wave. He keep on looking back. He's like, who's he waving at? Like maybe someone else. And then I waved at him, and then before I left, after I said bye to my kid, I walked past him. I sat down and I said, "Hi, I just want to say hi." And then I said, "Are you okay?" And then he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "I can sit and have lunch with you, you know." And then he's like, "No, I like to be alone. I feel happy when I'm alone." And then I was like, "Okay." And I told him, I was like, "As long as you feel happy doing it, then do it."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I left, and then he said, "I don't even know you." I was like, "I know, you don't know me." I almost want to say, "Please don't go home and tell your parents this." They're gonna put a restraining order on me, like this crazy lady that walk around. Yeah, but I just like think like that. And then I went home that day, and I was like, I told my kid, I said, "Do you have any friend to sit around when you have lunch with? You know, like do you have small thing like that? You know, you ask them to see. You kind of in the loop with them. You don't want to wait until they're so broken in school, and then they cry for help. That's when you step in. That's too late. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Such wise words, Lon. Such wise words.
When you have kids teach you so much.
They do.
Like they teach you.
They do.
I'm reading this one book. It's called A Conscious Parent. They said your kid mission here is to help grow you up, not for you to raise them. Your purpose as a parent is to provide them a place to live, food to eat, a shelter. And they are here, every one of us, we're here on earth to fulfill a destiny, right?
Yes.
So don't ever think that you own your kid and they're here to live all the dream that you couldn't have when you were young. Yeah, your purpose is to a stepping stone for them.
Yeah.
And then while they're here, they're going to challenge you in many ways so that it help you grow spiritually and in every way. Yeah. So your kid is here to grow you up.
Yeah.
So I try to embrace it every day. on really rough day. I was like, no, they're trying to grow me up.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
so good. So you also mentioned that especially during COVID, when you had your third, because of the restrictions, that you couldn't connect with your family or your community as deeply and celebrate as you normally would.
Yeah.
How do you feel that your community was impacted by COVID, and how has it been now as we're transitioning into, we still are impacted by COVID, but a little different than before?
Yeah. I think when COVID happened, it made us, essentially by choice or not, we all have to slow down. Like slow down, like, they always, I've been doing a lot of, I try to get into the meditation work. One of the things they talk about a lot is reflection.
Yeah.
Like time that you just sit and reflect about your day or your life. And honestly, a lot of us, most of us, we kind of just whisk through our life. We don't even have time to sit and reflect what happened yesterday, what happened last year.
Yeah.
Because we're always, chasing that time, right? But when COVID happened, it forced you. Like you can't go anywhere. You don't have any work, or actually I have work, but most people, like, everything is on pause.
Yeah.
So I almost like, for me, I feel like even though that was really rough, a lot of people died and stuff, but COVID actually had a blessing in itself. It's a blessing in disguise for a lot of people. It slowed down, and it makes you reflect on so many things. Like for me, I reflect on going back to my religion, like going back to my Buddha. It's almost like back then I was a Buddhist, but I was like, oh, I'm a Buddhist. Yeah, I tell people that. But I don't think I was ever a true Buddhist. But when COVID happened and when I had my third child, all that obstacle come throwing at me, that's when I feel like I became a true Buddhist. I literally came back and leaned on my Buddha.
Wow.
It doesn't have to be a Buddha. It has to be a God or someone that you like. When everything is so out of your control, as a human, you're like, I don't know what else to do. This is out of my hand. So you just kind of not give up, but you kind of just go with the flow. And I literally went back and then seek for guidance from my Buddha.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the spiritual moment for me, that I feel like I get to grow spiritually, and that's like the biggest gift for me. And then in terms of community, I think when COVID happened, it's actually bring the community together. Like people do a lot of nice things for each other. Like they actually have time to reflect, and they're like I don't know, just like one example. I'm sorry, I'm gonna talk about myself a lot, but because when you ask this question, I see myself in them. Like one of the things that me and a group of friends did during COVID is we call ourselves the sunflower of love. Like we had two other friends. We text each other one day, and we're like, he is a restaurant owner too, and she is like a hairstylist. So of course, no wedding at that time, so she was slow. And then there's another guy, he's a student. The four of us. One time we're in a group text, we're like, we're so fortunate. We're like doing this COVID when it happened. Like she told me, she's like, my husband still have a job. So even though I don't have a job, but he still have a job that can still keep us going. We have food on the table. And the restaurant owner friend, he was like, we were still able to open to do delivery, pickup. So we still the restaurant is not closed. And then for me, and then also I'm so thankful that I have my kid. He was okay doing COVID and all that stuff. And then we've all agreed that we are so blessed. We need to do something about it. We need to give back a little. Because most of us were Buddhists. So we believe in karma. It's like whatever, you take too much. If the world give you too much and you don't learn to give back, eventually you lose it all. Eventually you deplete your box of karma, of good luck. So we're like, we must give back. One way or another, we must. So that's the time that we four us got together. We started a group called the Sunflower of Love. And sunflower is like hope, And then what we did is we're not doing anything small. We try to help the people in our own backyard first. They are like a lot of the Vietnamese elderly, like they live by themselves, so don't have a mean to go grocery store and all that stuff. And then so what we did is we got together, and sometimes we buy grocery and deliver it to them. And then we also got together and we recruit a few of our friends who can cook, and then we all cook family meal for them.
Okay.
We cook family meal, and then we pack it, and then each of us take at one point in time we had 10 different elderly that we visit. So we would cook and we meet up, and then we pack the food, and each of us take it to one person, and then what we did was we drag all of our kids along so they can see that when tough time like this, we need to come together, and you don't have to be super rich to do something for someone. You can just cook them a family meal.
Yes.
And I think it was sad because a lot of those elderly, like, they have no one to talk to. They're just alone. And, and we're like, let's just do something for them.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. So when you said the community, and they're not just my group, there's a whole bunch of other groups that started doing that time, So it was just amazing how, like most of the time it's not good time that bring people together.
Yeah.
It's tough time. It's like really, really tough time that bring humanity together.
Yes.
Doing good time, we lose a lot of our humanity. Yeah, we lose a lot of it.
Come on, it's true.
So tough time somehow we bond better through tough time. So in a way, COVID bring the whole world together. So COVID, yes, it was bad, but COVID also is a wake up call for us. And it's a wake-up call, but not everyone responding to it. Those who truly heard that call, they will wake up and they will straighten up their life. And that's why they have like that whole resignation thing where they're like, I can't live my life like, doing a 9 to 5. I need, if anything COVID taught me is life is unpredictable. What is the point of planning for 5 years, 10 years from now? What if I'm not even there to, see it happen? So COVID taught me I need to live for today. Like I need to live for the now. Like I don't even know if I will wake up tomorrow. So today, if I get to wake up today, I will make today the best day of my life, like ever. Like so every day we live like Steve Jobs said, make every day as if it's your last day, because someday you'll be right, COVID taught me that. So I choose to live every day as if it's the best day of my life.
It's amazing.
So
amazing.
So COVID for me is a good thing.
It's a good thing.
So awful to say that, but
no, it's not. It's not.
And I'm like a half glass full kind of person. So, being positive and being happy is actually a skill that you learn. It doesn't just come from naturally. You have to learn. You have to learn so that maybe at the beginning, when something bad happened, it'll take you like drown on it for like 10 days. Like 5 to 10 days, you can't get over it. But eventually, you will switch your mindset so that instead of 5 days, it'll down to like 1 hour. You grieve it for 1 hour and you overcome it. You're like, oh, but here's the bright side. And you do enough of it. I feel like now I'm at a point where I can put a spin on it within like second. Like you give me something, like earlier when we were like missing each other at the wrong library. I drove here and I was like, no, oh my God, look at all these beautiful houses. If not because of Sarah, I wouldn't be able to see them all here. So I feel like that's a skill that I have learned during COVID. I have learned to if my glass is half empty, I will pour some more. I'm just not going to sit there and just interpret that glass.
It's a perspective switch.
That mindset. Mindset is everything. Mindset is everything. And that's one thing that school didn't teach you either.
Nope.
COVID have also reminded me that we need to do more for our children. Like schooling, I don't schooling is just the 10, even for pharmacy, all my professional friends, like doctors and stuff, we've decided that school only teach you 10% of what you know. When you go out there and you practice. A lot of us, we don't know what we're doing. That's a crazy thing. But the other 90%, you learn it on the job. You learn it interacting with people. School doesn't teach you everything.
1000%. I agree.
So life teaches you so much, but if only you're willing to learn.
Willing to learn and willing to reflect and process, like you mentioned. It's important to look back and see again, where have you come from?
And what is the lesson that life trying to teach you right now? I've concluded that the universe will teach you the same lesson over and over again. Maybe use different people, different situation, but it's ultimately the same lesson. It will teach you again and again until you learn your lesson. So whenever something bad, may as well sit there and reflect, like you said, reflect and see, what did I learn from this? Once you learn that lesson, you can level up to solve a bigger problem. But if you don't, you're gonna just like stuck right there.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So embrace problem. Be like, oh, this is my chance to level up. I can't wait.
Oh man, you're amazing.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. So just to honor and respect you and your time, is there anything else that you want to share before we finish?
I would say if 50 years from now, 100 years from now, if someone's watching my video, I hope you live a happy life.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you
And do
so
a lot of
much.
kindness for other people. And I feel like it's not what people can do for you, it's what you can do for people. Like, it's how you serve your community that your life is more meaningful. People who live a meaningful life will, even if it's short, but if they can live a life where they serve other people,
Yes.
somehow, I don't know, life is just worth living.
Yes.
Yeah.
It brings purpose.
It brings purpose.
Yes.
You know, the crazy thing is, if you asked me about this like maybe 5-10 years ago, I was like, that's crazy. What purpose? You know, it's weird. It's a milestone that everyone have to go through. You have to get to a certain age to understand what purpose and stuff. Well, I don't know my purpose either, but for those kind of things to resonate with you. When you're young, when your parent and your grandma or whoever tell you, you're like, that's silly. But when you get a certain milestone, maybe I think I read a book that said about 35-ish. That's a very common age for people to start to go through a period of awakening or a spirit of a period of like realization that that life is more than just not about them. It's about doing stuff for other people and like spiritual growth and stuff.
Yeah.
But at 35, I think that's a very the average age, because by that age you would go through enough struggle already for you to. Those of you who decide to learn from it will kind of level up from it. So yeah. I hope you all will live a happy life always and be kind to each other and our Mother Earth, so we don't have to move to Mars.
Yes. So true.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you.